Hello and welcome to another episode of TEPSA Presents. I'm your host, Todd Nesloni, the Director of Culture and Strategic Leadership here at the Texas Elementary Principals and Supervisors Association. I'm thrilled to bring you a variety of conversations with leaders from all over the country in ways that they are doing incredible work to hopefully inspire you. And today, when I thought about who we were going to have on for this episode, it is a gentleman that I have been following for a while now on social media. Love the work he does. And he is a superintendent in Seguin, Texas, which, fun fact, is actually the city I was born in. And so, but we have Dr. Gutierrez on with me today. Thank you so much for being here. Kind of tell everybody a little about who you are.
Hi, Todd. Thank you so much for having me this evening. And yes, I'm the proud superintendent of Seguin ISD. I'm in my 5th school year serving as a superintendent of Seguin ISD, which is located just outside of San Antonio. Our school district serves about 7,500 students, 70% of which come from poverty. I've been a classroom teacher, middle school teacher, middle school assistant principal, elementary principal, various capacities in central office. This is also my 20th year in education. And let me tell you, time flies when you're having fun.
I love it. Well, Dr. Gutierrez, one thing that I have really been impressed by you on social media is I love that you really utilize your platform to advertise the great work happening in your district. And today's conversation was all about leading from within. And part of that is because I've seen a lot of you actually being on campuses and being in the midst of things. And I know sometimes for superintendents, that can be a very difficult thing, especially in the time of COVID. And so for you, when did that become something that you were like, nope, this is a non-negotiable. I need to get out of my office. And how do you make time to do it?
Well, starting as a superintendent, I knew that I wanted to really have a pulse of all of our campuses and to establish strong relationships with our staff and our students. I wanted the students in Seguin ISD to know who their superintendent was. All too often, kids don't know who their superintendent is or what they do. And I'm proud to say 5 years later, you can probably step onto any campus, elementary through high school, and ask who the superintendent is, and they'll tell you Dr. G, Dr. Gutirez. And I've spent a lot of time on campuses and attending events. I feel that as a superintendent, you have to develop relationships, especially when you are bringing in new programs, initiatives, and bringing about change. You have to develop that trust to get people together to move in the same direction. But for me as a superintendent, a job that is very stressful and challenging, especially in times of COVID and just the political discourse that's occurring, what really feeds my soul every day is just the opportunity to interact with kids. And so when times are really tough, when I'm having a very challenging, stressful day, morning or afternoon, I'll just step out of the office and go on to a campus. But what I've done as a superintendent is just make certain things just part of a routine. As I often tell people, they ask, well, you're not doing your duties as a superintendent because you're going off and having lunch with your cafeteria staff, or you're spending all this time at campuses. Well, I eat lunch every day, right? And I'm someone who cannot skip lunch. I have to have lunch. So why not go and have lunch with people that you can get to know and people that you appreciate and break bread? And so, that's an example of just making things part of your day. Yeah, the office, I can get to the office anywhere at between 7 o'clock and 7:30 a.m. Why not start your day at a campus in elementary school where they start super early and do some car duty and have an opportunity to greet kids, but also greet their parents? So there are little actions that go a long way that you can just incorporate into the work that you do as a superintendent. But most importantly, it's about building relationships and really having a sense of the work that is happening, especially when times are challenging. And I feel like during COVID, I've had the opportunity to serve as a custodian, as a food service worker, as a teacher, in a variety of roles, so that I can understand firsthand the work that everyone is doing, because every single one of us has taken on additional responsibilities during COVID. And so I wanted to experience that for myself to really get a good sense of what everyone in the organization is experiencing.
And I think that that makes a leader even better to their team when they're in the mix, when they're in there getting to know the people, when I see you outside of when I'm in trouble or when there's a difficult thing happening on a campus. And I love that you said that the students know who you are too, not because you're on a picture somewhere, they tell them that's who the superintendent is, but that you're actively in the mix there. So my question would be, we've got all kinds of school leaders that'll be watching this and that are members here at TEPSA. And I know the question that's going to come up is, okay, I hear you, Dr. Gutierrez. I understand. I know the importance of it, but how do I make the time? How do I feel like I'm not doing something that's important to do this equally as important thing? How do you rationalize that in your head where this is important? I'm not losing something by doing this.
I think one thing as a leader to keep in mind is that people recognize what you value, what you hold near and dear to your heart, what is a priority to you. And if you become just engrossed in everything that is in the office, then people see you as someone who values all of that work that's happening more on the operational side, or maybe accountability side and planning and such. But when you take the time to step in and out of classrooms on a regular basis and get to know parents, then people see that that is what you value. And what's amazing to me, and what I've seen as a campus administrator, as a central office administrator, myself, or what I've seen from other leaders, is that when you are engaged with your community, when you are engaged with your staff, the results are going to come naturally because you're building relationships. You have a really good sense of what's going on in every classroom. And when you see something that maybe needs to be tweaked, you have a solid relationship with that teacher where you can have just an open conversation about what we can do together to improve instruction so that students grow. Especially right now, we talk about accelerated learning all the time. In response to COVID. And so it's just so essential for campus leaders, whether you're an assistant principal, assistant superintendent, whatever your capacity is to spend time getting to know people and getting to understand them. And especially right now when teachers are experiencing just extreme amounts of burnout, they just want to be seen. They just want to be heard. They want to be acknowledged and celebrated. Yeah. And so it's just critical right now that we make our visibility, building relationships, a priority.
And speaking of being burnout and tired, I know as a campus administrator, it's exhausting right now. And I know as a district administrator, it's probably just as sometimes, if not more exhausting too, with just all the different variety of things happening that y'all are dealing with. And so how do you maintain your own sanity? And what advice do you have for others who might be feeling like, I may just resign tomorrow. Like, I don't even know how I'm going to make it to Friday, much less Wednesday.
I think we're all human. We have those thoughts when we just feel like we've had enough and we just can't take anymore and we're stressed to the max. And I think we feel that way more frequently now during COVID. And I think what I would share with others, what really keeps me going, what inspires me and motivates me every day are those interactions with people, those interactions with kids and those interactions with teachers. That is what, as I said earlier, feeds my soul. And especially in a time where there's a lot of negativity right now against public schools, what our kids need the most are leaders who are going to go to battle for them. Mm-hmm. And so we have to stay the course, but at the same time, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of our own well-being and our health, because if we don't, then we cannot take care of others. The hundreds of kids that you serve, the thousands of kids that you may serve, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to find time to rest. We have to find time for fitness, eating healthy, because it's hard and we get bogged down in the work. So if it's just 10 minutes a day to just meditate or get a walk in, we have to do it. There's far too much at stake, and our kids need us more than ever.
I love just the way you ended that, which there is too much at stake right now, and we have to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of others. Well, Dr. Gutierrez, I love the work you're doing. So if people want to find you or find the work that's happening in Seguin, where can they go?
My Twitter is at Dr. Matt, M-A-T-T, Gutierrez, Gutierrez, or you can search on Facebook, Seguin ISD Superintendent. I also have a superintendent page. I look forward to networking with you all.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for everybody listening and for joining in for another episode of TEPSA Presents. Don't forget, if you have not signed up for our TEPSA Summer Conference coming this June, you want to sign up today and make sure you're there to connect and learn with other fantastic leaders. Dr. Gutierrez, thank you so much.
Thank you.